Hi, and welcome to this introduction to your Kaplan Integrated Testing Program resources. This is your one-stop shopping to learn everything there is to know about the Kaplan program you have that's incorporated into your nursing school curriculum. That's right, Kaplan is with you every step of the way. We are in partnership with you and your school to make sure you have the supplementary resources you need to help you learn your content and curriculum while you're in school and all the way up until the NCLEX. We're going to be with you even after you graduate to make sure you have the information, the resources, and the practice you need to prepare for the NCLEX. So the great news is there's nothing additional that you need to purchase. Kaplan is going to be with you every step of the way. Today, we're going to focus on the resources that you're going to use while you're in nursing school. In a couple of terms, you'll have an introduction to the Kaplan resources that you're going to use to help you prepare for the NCLEX. So by this point in time, it is probable that you have received your access to your Kaplan resources. And to access your resources, you're simply going to log into kaptest.com. Now, it's possible you may have done this at some point in your school career. Maybe you were looking for SAT or GRE or NCLEX information. If you have your own Kaplan account, that's okay. The account that I'm talking about is the one that came to you in a school email with your username, which is probably your school email address, and a unique password. So you can go to kaptest.com and use that information to log into your resources. If you ever forget your password, you can simply use your username and click Forgot Password and select your own. Once you log into your resources, you're going to be taken to your active resource homepage. And this is going to list for you all of the different bits and pieces that you have as part of the Kaplan program. From here, you're going to be able to see when your resources expire. If there are any payment details specific to your program, you can find that information here as well. And then you'll certainly see the enrollment agreement. The enrollment agreement is your contract with Kaplan, and it's something you'll need to accept before you can access your resources. When you're ready to go, click on the purple Access Resource button, and you'll be taken to your home page. Now, this is really where everything is housed. So lots of information. Again, you're going to be using different pieces of this in different parts of your nursing school career. Across the top is always the banner headlines, and it's going to feature items of interest, things that are new. Right now, we're highlighting the channel sessions here, and we're also highlighting the flashcards, and I promise that I'm going to go into detail with both of those assets in just a little bit. But to start, I really want to focus on the purple box that's in the middle of this screen, your nursing school success box. Because even before you get started with your nursing school curriculum, you want to make sure you're set up for success as a student. And I know, depending on where you're coming from, maybe you were out of school for a while and getting back into school. Maybe you were in a different education environment and you're coming to nursing school now. There's always a way to be better at what you're doing. Even if you're a great student and get great grades, nursing school is a very different type of school, and we're going to help you acclimate. So in the nursing school success area, you can find information about taking classes. What are the best ways to participate in class, to be an active listener, and to get the most out of your classroom experience? What about taking notes? If you've ever tried to just write down everything verbatim that an instructor has said, you'll learn when it's time to study for the exam that's not the best way to organize your notes. So how do you take notes, and how do you set up your notes for success when it's time to study for tests and exams? What about study sessions? How long should a study session be? How much time should you have between study sessions? What's the best in learning science that can help you have better study sessions? How about the workshop on remembering? All those mnemonic devices you're going to need, because there's a lot of facts and information to learn, especially in your early nursing school classes. How about reading textbooks? If you've ever gotten to the end of a dense chapter in a textbook and said to yourself, what did I just read? Now I have to go back and reread it again. You know that you can do better when it comes to reading textbooks. Or maybe you're that person who takes the yellow highlighter and does a lot of highlighting on lots of pages. We're going to give you great tips and techniques for getting through textbooks, for managing the material, and for being able to retrieve the material when you need it when it comes to those all-important tests. How about time management and stress reduction? In addition to the material that you need to learn, sometimes you just need to know how to prioritize things going on in your life and how to make sure you have time to study. We're going to give you those opportunities to learn a little bit more in these two workshops. And then finally, at the end, you're going to see something called the Dosage and Calculation Workshop. It's really a series of 3 workshops. One of the first things you're going to learn about nursing school is those basic math skills you haven't used in a while are going to come back, and you're going to need them. So this workshop is divided into 3 separate workshops. The first is a review of basic math. So what are the core math skills that you need to do all of the nursing calculations? And then we teach you 2 different ways to do those dosage and calculations: dimensional analysis and ratio and proportion. So any of these workshops in the nursing school success area are workshops you can come back to again and again throughout your enrollment. So I definitely encourage you to spend some time here and get the tips that you need before you really get into your nursing curriculum. The other thing you can access from your homepage are the Kaplan Nursing eBooks. And there are actually 2 eBooks that you have as part of the Kaplan program. One very appropriate to use now, one you're going to save for a little bit later. When you click on Get Your Kaplan Nursing eBooks here, you're going to be taken to information about how to download the resources. And what's great is that this is one less book you have to carry around. You can actually have it loaded on to a few devices if you want. Let me show you what the 2 books are. The first is the Basics book. This is your Cliff Notes for nursing school content. This summarizes everything you're learning in nursing school. It is not a substitution for your textbooks. You're still going to use those textbooks. But what it does is it identifies important concepts about specific nursing topics you're studying. We organize it by specialty. And I have students who use this book different ways. Some students like to read the relevant chapter in the Basics book before tackling the textbook because it serves as an introduction. What should you be paying attention to? Other students like to use this book on the back end after they've read the textbook. They'll consult the relevant text in the Basics book, so it serves as a summary and a reminder of what you should have gotten out of it. You can highlight in these books, you can take notes in these books. It's just one less thing to carry around. Also has a great search feature. The other book is the NCLEX RN Content Review Guide. This book you really don't need until your final graduating term, up until you take the NCLEX. And the reason for this is this book takes everything you've learned in nursing school and hones it down to the high yield content that actually appears on the NCLEX. So it's going to help you take the guesswork out of what you need to do to prepare for test day. It's going to have the relevant nursing content according to the NCLEX test plan, and you're going to learn more about that a couple of terms down the road. So you're going to use this book alongside your NCLEX Prep resources, which is why you don't need it right now. For now, download the Basics book and get started using this book. All right, so that's a little bit of the introductory material even before you get into really studying your nursing school curriculum. Next, I want to focus on the 4 boxes that appear right here: focused review, integrated testing, clinical resources, and NCLEX Prep. The focused review test is the box we want to focus on first. I'll remind you that there's an orientation listed right at the beginning, so in case you'd like to review any of the information we're going over today, you can do that from that orientation. Focused review tests, I actually want you to insert that word practice between review and tests because these are safe tests. It's a safe testing environment in which you can see how you're doing on the key clinical and curriculum things you're learning in nursing school. And this is really important. You think about all the times that you're studying and you have a big exam coming up and you're not sure how ready you are. Here's a safe way to test yourself on those topics so you can see how you're doing before a big exam comes up. Your faculty is going to give you guidance on how to use focused review test, but this is really a box that you own and have access to 24/7 wherever you're at. So it's something you want to get familiar with and start using. I know nursing students love questions. This is a great way to get the key curriculum and content questions that you need while you're in nursing school. So if you click on Take Available Tests, you're going to be taken to a large list, and this might look a little daunting. But again, keep in mind, you're using these tests throughout nursing school, so not just right now. Everybody's always curious to see how they work. So if you want to get a head start with the test, look at that basic math A test, that first test that's there. Not only is it a great math review, but it's a great way for you to see how the tests actually work. When you click into Take the Test, the first thing you're going to notice is that the test models the NCLEX in the sense that it looks and feels like the NCLEX. These are not NCLEX passing level questions yet. You're not ready for those. But these are content questions that are at the level you need right now while you're learning your key nursing content. So the test will look and feel like the NCLEX questions you're ultimately going to get to, including that drop-down calculator. Maybe when you're doing calculations, you might use your phone calculator or have a desk calculator. We recommend you use this calculator just to get used to the functionality. Now, anytime you take a test, anytime you do practice questions or take an exam, that testing experience is important. You're getting used to doing questions in a timed environment. You're learning how to test yourself. But especially as you're starting nursing school, and actually throughout all of nursing school, what's equally important, and maybe even a little bit more important, is the remediation that you do afterwards. The learning that you do once you see where your benchmark is right now and the steps you take to improve, so the next time you're tested on similar material, you're going to perform at a higher level. So when it's time to remediate, you're going to have a lot of information at your fingertips. The first thing, of course, you're going to see is how many you got right and how many you got wrong. Now, people will sometimes ask what a good score is in focused review, and that's going to vary. Because sometimes you might simply be doing these as practice tests to test yourself even before you've done a lot of studying. So you may not do so well, but that's okay, because now you know where you need to improve. So these tests are not about the grades necessarily, they're about the activity you're doing around these tests. Not only will you know how many you got right and wrong, but we'll also track your answer changes for you. There are really three key components to becoming better at taking tests. Of course, there's learning the relevant content that you need. And then there's layering on critical thinking. And we're going to work with you to develop your critical thinking skills throughout nursing school and up until you take the NCLEX. But the third component is learning about your test taking habits. That's really critical as you're going through all of these exercises. So you're going to have the opportunity to see what your answer changes were like. If you're the kind of person who changes things from correct to incorrect, how did you second guess yourself? How did you let yourself go down the wrong path? Kaplan's going to work with you to help protect you from yourself. If you had things that were incorrect and you changed them to correct, that's great. You caught yourself. But why did you make that mistake in the first place? We're going to help you figure that out too. If you had answer choices that were incorrect and you just changed it to something that was incorrect, this should be a key to you that this is a content area you need to work on. So you can even start learning about yourself from these results. When you want to review the test questions, click on Review this test. You're going to be able to see the questions, if you got them right or wrong, and how much time you used. That's important. Were you rushing through the test and maybe that's why you got things wrong? If you were taking a lot of time on questions and still getting them wrong, that might be a content area to work on. And even before I click into the explanations, I want you to look at that very last column on the right where it says remediation time. That's right. We're going to track your remediation time for you. And we're going to do it, and your faculty is going to be able to see it as well, because again, together we're working to help you be better in nursing school. You want to remember that you're going to remediate not only for the questions you got incorrect, that makes sense, but for the questions you got correct as well, and that also makes sense. Did you just happen to get the question right because you had a lucky guess? Did you get it right, but for the wrong reason? You want to make sure that you don't have to rely on luck the next time a similar question comes up on the test. So when it comes time to look at the explanations, click on View Information, and it's going to take you to that explanation area. There's a lot of great information that you're going to get here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to see the question with the answer choices, and then you're going to see the explanations. Now, even before I start getting into the remediation that's involved here, I want to point your direction to that upper right-hand corner. There's always going to be a reminder up there about making sure that if you're doing the remediation, you want to get credit for the remediation time and you want to make sure it's logged into your resources. So when you're doing remediations with Kaplan, rule number 1, please don't use your directional arrows in your browser window. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see on the bottom right, you have previous and next, so you can navigate that way. To the left, you can go to the next incorrect item or back to results. The second rule is that when you're done with your Kaplan remediation, when it's time to log out of your Kaplan resources, you want to make sure you're doing a formal logout. And you know what I mean by that. Sometimes you're in an account and you're in a hurry and you just close your browser window. Not an effective way of logging out of your resources. Make sure you go into your account icon, hit log out, and do a formal logout. That's going to assure that your remediation time has been recorded and you get credit for the hard work that you're doing. All right, back to those remediations. So you see the question and you see the answer choices and you see the explanations there. Now, what I don't want you to do is just take a quick read through those explanations. It's really a time to start testing yourself and start thinking about your thought process. So if you know answer choice number 1 is correct, tell yourself why it's correct before looking at our explanation. And then look up at our explanation and see how closely you matched up. If answer choice number 2 is incorrect, why is it incorrect? Tell yourself before you check our answer choice first. As you're new to nursing school, you might find that you're not always on track, but the more you get into it, the more you're going to find yourself on track. So that's a great way to be an active participant in the remediation process. Now, sometimes that answer choice just isn't quite enough. Those explanations aren't enough. So you might need to delve deeper into the remediations. And this is what's great about Kaplan. It's very customizable. Each one of you has different strengths and weaknesses. So you're able to tap into those things you really need to work on to assure your success. We have the brief review, the nursing focus and concepts, the interdisciplinary focus and management, and a video. I'll get more into these details in just a little bit. The other item that you may have noticed on this page is something called the alternate tab. When you see questions with the alternate tab, if you click on that tab, you're going to be taken to a rewording of that question and the answer choices, a simpler wording. There are times that we look at questions and we know every word in the question, but for some reason, we just can't figure out what the gist of the question is. By going to the alternate tab, you'll see the simpler wording and get to the heart of the question. So when they're available, you're welcome to take advantage of them. All right, so we talked about the tests that we have here, that list of tests that's based on nursing curriculum across the country. But sometimes you need to get a little bit more specific. The focused review test area also gives you the opportunity to create your own test and to search for remediations. We talked a little bit about creating your own test before. When I mentioned if you have a big exam coming up and you want to test yourself ahead of time, maybe you know 80% of the topic, but there's 20% that you're struggling with. You can create a custom test focused on those specific topic areas. Or maybe you've taken a big exam and you've done pretty well on several sections, but there are some things that you're still struggling with and you know you need to do extra study. And after you study, you want to test yourself again in a safe environment. Again, you can create a customized test. So let's take a look. When you click on Go, you're able to select your test parameters. Do you want a timed or untimed test? Untimed makes perfect sense when you're playing around with these test questions early on in your study. But if you're using this to simulate a test coming up, you want to make sure that you're doing it in timed mode to replicate that time pressure that comes with you on test day. You also have the opportunity to reuse questions or use all new questions, and that mix is going to be helpful. Sometimes you just want to use all fresh questions. But if it's a topic that you were struggling with a couple of weeks ago and you've really done a lot of work, perfectly appropriate to incorporate those older questions or the ones that you got incorrect back into the mix. Then you can select the category that you want. And to the right, you can get very granular and select the topic or topics that you want. You can always select more than one. We'll let you know how many available questions there are. And from there, you can create your test. So that's a great way of you owning the process of working on the things that you need to work on and really customizing your study experience. Now, the other way of using the focused review area is to search for remediations. This time, you're not going to have all of that question selection, of course, but you're going to be able to focus right in on the category and topic or topics that you need. We'll let you know how many remediations are available based on your parameters, and then you can create the sequence and have your remediation set up. So think about how powerful this focused review test area is. Faculty is definitely going to help you get used to how to do this and make some recommendations about when to use tests. Some of these tests might be part of your homework for different classes that you're taking. But the tests are available to you 24/7. Now, you can retake the tests as many times as you like, but I caution you. There are times it's perfectly appropriate to take a test a second time. Maybe you've done a lot of studying and now you want to revisit. But if you start taking that same test 3, 4, or 5 times, you're not having an authentic testing experience. What you're doing is thinking about the questions you did the last time. So while the functionality is there, you don't need to use it. These tests are not about getting a 100% every time you test. They're really meant to be a learning tool. We have other testing opportunities so you can see your performance and track your performance. But I definitely want you to use the detailed rationales here, and I want you to remediate on all questions. So again, you can use these before major exams, before the Kaplan integrated tests, or use them afterwards as a review. Get used to the focused review tests. They're going to be one of your best friends in nursing school. So that's the focused review test area. Your faculty was a little jealous that you had a test area that you owned, so we gave them one as well, and that's the integrated testing area, and that's the box to the left. Now, these are the secured exams. These are the ones that will be proctored. These are the more serious exams. And depending on your school program, every school uses these a little differently. So you're going to get guidance from your faculty on how and when these tests are going to be used. Chances are, if you're just starting nursing school, you might use them for the first time at the very end of this semester or not even until the following semester. The integrated tests, as I mentioned, are the secured exams, and they're the bigger comprehensive exams. What's awesome about these exams is when you get your results back, not only do you see how many you got right and wrong, and we track your answer changes, but we'll also give you a percentile ranking. And as you start to delve into the information, we're going to give you your percentile ranking and compare that to the normed percent correct. So you're going to start to see how you compare to other Kaplan students using these resources. So how do you stack up? And again, no hard and fast rules here, but it's just a chance for you to see. And then we're also going to give you a lot of information about what kind of question this is. How does it fit into the nursing process? So the more you get into nursing school, the more you're going to see how this information relates to your career choice. So that's a little overwhelming if you're just starting nursing school right now. But as I mentioned, we're going to be with you every step along the way. And when you start doing these tests, you're going to get a little bit more information so you can see how what you're learning relates to your ultimate career. We'll let you know how you perform with different difficulty levels of questions or with the nursing process itself. Maybe there are different clinical concepts you're better at. How about different demographics? This is going to let your faculty know how you and your class are performing. It may also help you see what parts of nursing you like better. So a lot of information in this part of the results for your integrated tests. Now, there is a big difference between the focused review remediation and the integrated testing remediation. We're still going to let you know the questions and if you got them right or wrong and how much time you used and categorize the question for you. We're still going to chart your remediation time for you. But this time, when it's time to do the remediation, you're not going to see go to explanation in the remediation column. You're going to see the topic of the question. And this is really important because anytime you do a test question, you're never going to see that same test question on another test, but you're going to see that same concept again. So when you're remediating on the integrated tests, you're going to work through those 3 to 4 levels of remediation we talked about before. The brief overview, the nursing focus and concepts, the interdisciplinary focus and medical management, and the content video. We recommend that you remediate a minimum of 1 minute for all questions. Remember, not just the ones you got wrong, but the ones that you got right as well. And in many cases, you're going to be doing much more than a minute. But the reminder is you want to remediate for everything. Now with the focused review test, you saw the question and the answers again. For the integrated tests, you're not going to see that, and that's very purposeful. One, these are secured exams, so we want to protect the integrity of questions for test takers. But two, we don't want you to get hung up on questions here. We really want you to focus on the material that you needed behind the question to get the question right, to make sure you're on target. And that's where that active remediation comes into play. Take a look at the brief review. Do you know all the content behind the question? If you're still struggling, look at the nursing focus and concepts. We're going to take this question and relate it to the different parts of the nursing process: assessment, diagnosis, planning, implementation, and evaluation. We can also show you all of the material around it: the definitions, the pathophys, the signs and symptoms, diagnostic testing if available. And then finally, if you need that content refresher, that video is going to be there for you. So you have all of the information at your fingertips. You don't need to hunt for it in your textbooks. Everything you need is right here. Now, I mentioned that the integrated tests were secured exams, and that's important for you to keep in mind. The first rule is that the questions are scrambled, and I mentioned this because it's possible that after your first exam, you're all going to want to talk to one another in your class because you're curious about how you did. And if you all start recognizing that you've got different answers, you might worry a little bit, but it's okay. We scramble the questions, so it's very appropriate that you're getting different answer choices. In general, you're not taking these tests at home unless very specific arrangements have been made, and your school and faculty will give you very explicit instructions on how these tests are going to be taken and when they're going to be taken. They can only be taken once, and you don't want to exit these prematurely. These are not the focused review tests. These are not the tests to play around with. These are linked to your performance in school, and in many cases linked to the grading that you're going to be receiving. Now, we do require something called a Respondus lockdown browser. If you're using computers at school to take these tests, that's already been taken care of. If you're going to be using your computer to take these tests, you will be required to install Respondus, and we'll give you information on how to make that happen. Respondus just makes sure that you have a very authentic testing experience. It's going to block you from doing anything else. It's going to keep your focus right on the test while you're working on it. So again, you'll get plenty of information from your faculty about how the integrated tests work. I just wanted to introduce you to them today. So those are the testing resources that you have as part of the Kaplan resources. The next box I want to delve into is the clinical resource box on the bottom left-hand corner. This is the toolbox for nursing school, and every school uses these a little differently. So again, you're going to lean on your faculty to get specific guidance for your program. We have two categories of resources here. We have the mid-fidelity simulations, also known as case studies, and we have the essential nursing skills. These are the clinical skills that you're going to be doing in your clinical settings. So the mid-fidelity simulations, if you are new to nursing school, you're not ready for these yet. And I have every school using these a little differently. Some schools use these as a substitute when you can't get to clinicals. Some schools use these as group projects to have people work on. They really start to integrate all parts of the nursing process, so you'll be able to do a chart assessment for a patient, do the physical assessment, do the nursing diagnosis, the care plan, and the evaluation afterwards. So you can see why you're not quite ready for it if you're just beginning the nursing program. But again, you'll get guidance on your faculty on how to do these and when to do them. So don't delve into them now just to play around with them. Wait until you get specific instructions. For the Essential Nursing Skills series, this is a video series of the things that'll be happening in a clinical setting. If you've never been in a clinical setting, sometimes it might make you feel better to watch it and just get a heads up on what's going to be happening. If it's been a while since you've been in a clinical, it's a good refresher. Now you're going to learn the most up-to-date information from your faculty and in your clinical settings. As you know, medicine changes daily. But this is a great general library for things like moving a client, bathing a client, proper hand washing techniques. So all of those things you're going to be doing in your clinical settings. And again, you're going to have this available to you throughout your Kaplan enrollment. All right, the last box to click onto is the NCLEX Prep box. Now, most of the material in this box is not ready for you yet. Or should I say, you're not ready for it yet, so it's not open yet. These are the resources that you're going to be using to prepare you for the NCLEX. So most of the information in here will not open up until your last term. But that doesn't mean you can't click on Go to Your Study Plan, because there are 3 important resources that you can access in this box that you can start using now and are going to be awesome content resources throughout nursing school. So when you click into the resources, you're going to be taken to your study plan. And from your study plan, you are going to be able to see phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 on the left-hand side. Phase 2 and phase 3, don't worry about now. Those are very NCLEX focused. But in phase 1, you have the essential nursing content. And that essential nursing content is both the channel and the video library, 2 fantastic content resources that you can use. So I want to show them both to you. The content library is really a library. So when you see almost 2,000 items here, please don't think that you need to read everything. It's really a reference library for you. You're going to learn content in your classes at school and certainly have content information in your textbooks. But sometimes you want to look up something quickly and use a different interface so it locks in a little bit more. And this is a great way to get that resource. We have 2 categories of resources in the content library. If you see the words nursing school in front of the topic that you're looking at, it is content that's remediation during nursing school. If you see NCLEX in front of it, it's content specific to NCLEX Prep, and that's going to help you separate the 2. You'll note that when you're looking at the resources, they're all listed alphabetically. On the right-hand side, if it's a video, we list how long the video is, and you'll see that very often they're very short videos. So it's great to sneak in a little content review in between things you have going in your life. And yes, you can access this from any device that you're on. Now, sometimes that list, it's alphabetical, it's great, but you might want something a little bit more specific. So you can use the search function. In this instance, if you wanted to look up therapeutic communication, it would show you everywhere it appears in the content library. There's one NCLEX resource, but then there are 2 that are specific to nursing school. So if you're looking for a quick way to find the pieces that you need, everything's been tagged and we can link it to everything in the content library. All right, the channel is the next piece. And what the channel is your Netflix for nursing school content. It is a dedicated 24/7 channel that has all of the key content that you need. Again, it's a different way of learning. There are live lectures that you can actually consult our TV guide here and access and attend and participate in. Sometimes, for all you want to do, you might have a conflict so you can't attend something live. You can check out the recorded side and you can see what lectures we have recorded so you can catch up on the material. And what kind of information do we have in the channel? Well, on the left-hand side, you'll see the huge topic library that's here. And the topics you'll see are very key to the curriculum that you're learning in nursing school. But we also have things like preparing for the NCLEX when that gets a little bit closer. We'll have things like test taking tips in here as well. So this is a very dynamic topic list that changes from time to time. And it's informed by what you all want and what recommendations you give us for the things that you want. So again, it's the key content areas that you're going to be learning in nursing school. If there's a lecture that you like, you can see when it's coming up live, and you can even add it to your calendar. There's that functionality on the right-hand side. But you can do other things besides searching from topics. Sometimes you might just want something a little bit more broad spectrum. Maybe you want to click on content review and see everything we have upcoming live about general NCLEX content or nursing school content. You could also search by NCLEX review when it's time to see the stuff that's specific to the NCLEX. Or maybe you're interested in test taking tips and you want to click on that and search that way as well. So those icons that are there, the content review, the NCLEX review, and test taking, when you look at the live lectures coming up, you can immediately categorize and know what kind of content will be in this particular workshop. Now, you might start to attend these workshops and you might have favorite faculty. You're able to search by faculty as well. So this is a very dynamic way for you to get involved with our nursing community and learn that core content and test taking that you need. Now, you can always search for channel and video library right in your essential nursing content, but I want to point you also to the top tab where you can search for channel there as well. So if you don't feel like going into all of your resources, you can always access channel from here or back on that home page we saw at the very beginning. Now, the other item that we have here are the flashcards. And again, you can access those from that home screen when you first log in, but you can also access them from the top of the tab here. What are the flashcards? This is a great way for you to learn medication. Now, sometimes when you're engaging these cards at first, they might stick a little bit, so always make sure you've cleared your cache on your computer and make sure you don't have lots of cookies hanging out there to make it a clean experience for the flashcards. But you're able to search for flashcards by the different topics. Maybe you want to look for allergy and asthma medication because we know no matter what season it is, allergies are always something at the forefront of everyone's mind. So you can go and see how many flashcards we have available, and you can go to Study Now. It will give you the medication, and it will give you the task that you're going to do. In this case, it's nursing considerations. When you have the answer in your brain, you can click on Show Answer, and you'll see the answer that's there. Now, once you're done with the question or with the flashcard, you're able to categorize the flashcard as well. Again, good or easy. And what does that mean? Well, in the explanations or the instructions, we explain that to you. That again means the card will come back up in a minute. It's something you feel you need to work on. If you thought you did pretty well on it, it's a good card, we'll bring the card back up in 10 minutes just to make sure you have it locked in. If it's something that was easy and you really knew it, you can mark it as easy and we won't show it to you again today. Keep in mind that for every topic, we introduce 20 new cards each day. So this is a very dynamic flashcard deck. It's going to change. So when you've been through it once, doesn't mean you're fully done with it. It's always going to be something new for you. We've got a lot of great tips in the How They Work section. When you're done with your study session for the day, you'll be able to get a snapshot of how you did with all of the flashcards. How many did you use? How many did you categorize as easy or as good or wanted to do again or as hard? So it really gives you the opportunity for you to do some categorization of the cards that are here. So have fun with the flashcards. They are at your beck and call whenever you need them. And even though it's in that NCLEX area, again, you can access it from your home screen and you can access it here, but they're ready for you now. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is I want you to engage with our communities. You know, nursing, especially being new to nursing school, you're going to get very connected with your faculty and students on campus, but you're part of a nationwide nursing community. You can find Kaplan on Facebook at Kaplan Nursing, and you can even get our question of the day. You can find us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, and Pinterest. Lots of great information out there, lots of great ways to interact with other nursing students and our faculty. And finally, I just want to make sure that you have our contact information. Your faculty is going to do an awesome job of teaching you all of the curriculum that you need. But sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you need a little technical support. And when you need tech support for your Kaplan resources, I want you to lean on us. So you can reach our team at integrated.support@kaplan.com. This is login issues, general questions, and access information. If you're not sure if you received your log-on information, you can definitely contact us. When it's time to download those eBooks, if you're struggling with that a little bit, you can reach out to us. Our student support hotline is 877-572-8457. And from your active resource page, there's always a chat that's there that you can chat directly with us. Later, when it's time for you to get into our NCLEX program, we'll also have a teacher chat that's available for you. So I know I've covered a lot of information. Again, you're welcome to come back and revisit this orientation if you want, but you'll see different orientation pieces embedded in all of your resources as well. I just want to congratulate you for starting your nursing school journey. This is just an amazing career that you're entering. So I want to wish you much success this semester and as you begin your nursing school career. And we will check back with you in a couple of terms when it's time to get ready for the NCLEX. Until then, lots of success, enjoy the resources, and thanks so much for giving a listen to this orientation today.